Hey everyone, Jerry Brown here. Baby, it's special today. The son of Mr. Roy Haynes, the son of Mr. Snap Crackle, Craig Holiday Haynes. I'm very honored that he's here. He's got stories to tell. So sit back, get your popcorn. You know why? 'Cause groove don't lie. You are one of the few that can wear all the hats.
Mm,
You know,
mm, mm,
I
mm,
mean, from some serious swing to, to having been with Sun Ra for a bunch of years, and then when you're talking about this guy, man, that's different hats. You know,
mhm. Right.
that's not that's not prevalent
Mm, mm,
now
mm,
like it was before.
mm.
To
Really?
me,
Mm,
it seems
mm,
that, I mean, yeah,
mm.
there's a lot of cats, Chopzilla,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Chopzilla and stuff,
yeah.
but hey, I had my moments of Chopzilla too, but then I started to get older and stuff like that, and then it becomes like a money management thing and stuff like that, and it's like
Mhm, mhm,
you have these experiences, you've been in these situations. The more ground that you can cover, maybe to have a roof over your head.
Right, right.
And then of course, if you just chops and not much groove, you
Mm,
know,
yeah.
you may be homeless.
You're right.
you
But
know,
that,
so
it's funny you mentioned that because I've been wanting to do more gigs like the kind of gigs you've been, the money gigs. I haven't, I can't even think of any I've done. I haven't done any tours like that. I was supposed to years ago. One of my cousins is like a second cousin is the choreographer and manager for New Edition, and one of the guys in the band is a cousin, same. So years ago, I thought there would, he was like, okay, we're gonna fly you out to L.A. and because we have auditions for the drummer. Never heard from him. Years go by. Never about a let me see, maybe 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. And when I was a point where I was working a lot, and I was in the middle of getting ready to go somewhere, and I saw a message like, yeah, I think we're gonna need you now. But I was
okay.
really busy, and I think I didn't get right back to him, so I never heard it again. Didn't That's all I heard. And then they kind of blew up. It was right before because they had a big movie. They did a movie, and it was it was before that.
Mhm.
And I'm sorry I didn't hear anymore. I'm sorry I never did get to work with them because that would have been. I actually liked their music, so I like funk music. I like R&B. I love R&B. I grew up on it, but I haven't played an R&B tour since the '70s.
Well, but it's not,
'70s.
yeah, there's some things that may have changed, but groove don't lie, man.
Hmm.
And as you were talking about that, so I was thinking, because I believe he lives in nearby Arizona somewhere, George Benson.
Yeah, yeah, he's in Arizona. I believe I think he's still there, unless he moved again.
I think he's still there.
Yeah, I spoke with him. In fact, I've been meaning to call him, but the last time I spoke with him about and expressed that I still haven't played with him. Well, I have played with him, but I haven't worked with him in years. So I never actually worked with him. I think we just sat in together a couple of times. But when I mentioned to him, the drummer that he had I think he had just died.
Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember his name, but I
I,
remember
yeah.
that wasn't that long ago.
No, it was only like less than 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but then somebody told me about they were really happy with the new drummer. So I'm not one to press to, I don't, that's probably one of my problems. I don't really hustle. I don't hustle for gigs much anymore. And I guess because of the way my father kind of brought me up, I never like begged for a gig or anything like that. So, so here I
Well,
am.
well, maybe that documentary, executive produced by you needs to come out
Yeah,
about your dad.
right, right. That's right.
So I got to ask you this. When I first told you about doing this podcast, and you may have heard something on there where I said, if you can't find the one, yeah, I know, but you're not done. And you said, "Oh man, Gerry, I got to tell you a story about Dad, where he said where he couldn't find the one."
Did I tell you the
So
story?
no, you never told me the story.
Oh, okay. So you ready for it?
I'm ready for this, man.
It's
The
really
world is, hey
it's
man, the
really
world is ready for this, man.
it's really simple. It's really simple, innocent, simple. So, and it's funny you bring that up because it's now one of my favorite tunes to play. It was one of my favorite tunes when I first heard it, when I first heard him play it. So, I guess it was back in the '80s. I was at his house, and the saxophone player who was playing with him or had played with him. I'm not sure. I think he was still playing with him off and on. He's between R. Blakey and my father, Donald Harrison,
Yes.
great alto player. Donald sent my father a demo of a song. So my father, that's rare. My father didn't usually get demos of a song. They just say, let's do this, and they go in the studio or they. But Donald sent my father a MIDI demo. It was just a MIDI melody.
Right. And that
And
was it.
and my father was playing it, and he's playing it, and he says to me, Craig, he's listening. I'm listening. I'm watching. I'm listening to it, and I see this like look on his face, like, just Craig, I can't find the one. And I heard it. I said, Dad, it's right here. It's right. But it was on a MIDI, so he just wasn't feeling it. He wasn't hearing it.
Mm-hmm.
It turned out to be one of his almost theme songs, after they recorded it. And it's a good song. It's called Good for the Soul.
How about that?
But it's so I just thought it was so ironic. Roy Haynes couldn't find the one. Like, really?
Eh, eh, but what can just to say, these things happen, man.
Yeah,
It's like as you said, how it was presented to him,
right. That's what it
it was
was.
it, it was it was innocence,
Right, exactly.
but
MIDI track. He probably
but
never heard a MIDI track before.
that's possible too,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, I'm
But
sure.
that's innocence, man. What happened? Okay, yeah, you couldn't find one. What happens when those times where maybe you're on a gig or something like that, and you may have had the one, but all of a sudden you lost it. It's like, and then what do you, and then what do you do? It's like,
Well,
you kind of
our
look at,
Blake, you know what our Blakey said, right? Our Blakey had the remedy for that.
What was what was his remedy?
Said, when in doubt, roll.
When in doubt, roll.
Just press roll. Just and then
Well,
you're
I tell
somebody,
you,
you hear it from somebody eventually. So
well, and I will tell you, man, with Art Blakey in that role,
yeah,
like
it's like a Mack truck.
I met him a couple of times and stuff, and I told him, I says, like, I was listening to Blues March. My dad
Mm,
had bought that album, so
mm.
I'm like, I'm trying to play him, and stuff like that. And then when they do some of those roles, I would I would start crying. I start crying. So Greg, so my dad said, "What the f's wrong with you?"
Right?
This is,
Man.
Dad, I can't play like that. I had it. I'm paying for them lessons.
Mm.
You got to you got
You
to
better
practice,
find it.
boy. You got to practice, boy.
Wow. So you ever hit that? So I used to hang out with Art a lot. Art was Art was almost like superhuman when he was, in the 60s. He was like, yeah, out hang everybody. Anyway, so he told me the story, and he used to tell the story on occasion, and sometimes it would vary. But the story that I heard most often was that, he grew up in Pittsburgh and he played piano initially, and he was doing a gig. And at one point, there's this, mobster run club, and the drummer didn't show up for one night. So the mobster says, "You," pointing to Art, "you play the drums." So like the Art's like, "I don't play the drums." He says, the mobster gave him the drumsticks and the snare drum and told him to go in this room. It was a closet. You go in this room and practice. You just practice, and then you're doing the gig tonight. And then Art said he just went in the closet and just practiced playing the roll, the press roll. And now that was his story of how we got that press roll. He said he stayed in that closet for like over hours. But that was the story. That was the story that he told about why his press roll was so cool. 'Cause that's the first thing he learned. And he was scared the mobster was going to shoot him. He said he held a gun to his head. Yeah.
The
Now
days, man.
Art could tell some stories though. So
The days, man. So were there any, were there instances where you were at like sessions with your dad and stuff like that, and there were some spontaneous moments, or you just saw some moments with, you know, uh, a leader or some other musicians, and and whatever their method was about getting that groove, but you just saw something and it was like, damn, it's like I've never seen anything like that. I never thought about it that way.
no, no, not gonna think of. Um, Not really. Every time I saw him in the studio, everything was pretty normal.
Oh no, up and up.
Yeah. The last time I saw him in the studio was for his last CD, his last recording as
Hmm.
a leader, and I played congas on it I think a couple of tracks.
Hmm.
And he told me, and one thing my father always prided his career on was that nobody ever told him what to play. And even though I do remember Rassan Roland Kirk telling him what to play on a Rassan album that my father was
Hmm.
recording, and Rassan was telling him, "No, just play the hi hat in I think the first 8 or 16 bars or something."
Right.
It's the only time I ever saw anything like that. But my father told me what to play. I'm like, really? It was like, okay. Of course, I changed it up, but that's basically what I played, what he asked. But I did, but I couldn't just play just that.
But you made it yours.
You're
It's
right.
like, okay, I'll take this.
Right.
Okay, I'll
And
take
then
this, but I
right.
make it mine.
Yeah, and the producer and everybody loved it, so it's like, okay, fine. But that's the only things in the studio I saw that were not normal, or you know, um, yeah, I never saw anything spectacular in the studio. Live, I've seen them do things that you say, "Whoa, wow, that was different."
Like what, if you can
Like,
remember?
like his solo, like on a solo, when he would just play the bass drum. Um, he might play the bass drum for like 2 minutes, or more, close to it, and he's just playing the bass drum, and it's like, whoa, and people are loving it. Um, one
I wonder.
time,
I wonder if God rest his soul. I wonder if Jack got that from your dad.
I'm sure he did. I'm
Sure,
sure.
he
I'm
did.
sure. I'm
I
sure.
mean, you saying this, and I'm saying,
It would, yeah, Jack got a lot of stuff. I first met Jack. I was about 8 or 9 years old, and Jack invited my father to dinner. So it was just my father and myself that went to Jack's place in the village, West Village. And actually, it was the East Village, I believe, at that point. And Jack cooked this big pot of beans. And this is back in the '60s, and I think it was before. I'm pretty sure it was before he did the record with Charles Lloyd. So I was probably 7 or 8 years old,
wow.
because it was before that Charles Lloyd album came out,
Yes.
and because that's when I heard that. I said, "Wow!" My friend in we were in probably the sixth grade, fifth or sixth grade when that album came out, I believe. And we fell in love with it because we were both into clothes, and not quite cars yet. I loved cars as a kid, but I would. So we were actually, because he bought the first, not convertible. He had a Volkswagen with the sunroof, which that was like the coolest thing for some
Yeah.
kids. But then when that album came out, we were really into it. I was really into it, and I remember telling my friends, "Oh
That's
yeah,
like Forest Flower, wasn't it? Wasn't that Forest
Forest
Flower?
Flower, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
yeah, yeah." So yeah, I really loved it.
Yeah. He turned a lot of heads on that one.
Yeah, but I remember that he was a big, he has an album that one of Jack's albums. There's a song called "Papa, Daddy, and Me," which is Jack plays piano and my father's playing the drums, but it's Jack's album. But yeah, my father was a big influence on him. Big influence on us. And Tony,
Um,
Tony is, what happened. Tony was playing at Carnegie Hall once, and I went to see him. And afterwards, a few of us went and hung out with Tony after the show. He was staying at the hotel right around the corner. And we're sitting there, we're talking. Tony and I were talking for over an hour. And then somebody in the room said, "Tony, that's Roy's son, right?" And Tony's like, "What? Why didn't you tell me?" I didn't tell him. And then he said, "Okay, so I got to tell you what happened," because I remember when I first heard Tony, I was probably, I don't know, probably 10 years old or something, on a Miles album my father had. And I listened to it and I said, wow, he sounds like my father. And so Tony said, okay, I got to tell you the story. So Tony said he took a whole year, and studied 5 drummers independently. So 1 year, one drummer. Next year, you studied and studied all their records and tried to play just like that one drummer for a whole year. He said there were 5 drummers. He says, and he told me the 5, and I think it was Alan Dawson, um, um, Max, Elvin, Philly Joe, and my father. And I
Five Kings.
I thought Buddy Rich was in there too, but that means one of these guys is wrong. But he said the main thing was
I
that he said the last one was Roy Haynes, and this is Tony telling me, he said, and that's why I sounded more like him than anybody else, because he was the last one I studied. And then Miles told me he made all his drummers listen to Roy. You know, he said, I made all my drummers listen to Roy.
There you have it. It's the groove gospel.
Yeah.
You know,
So you know, Jack and Tony they had already come out of that. So then when Miles tells them to listen to Roy,
what are you going to say?
you're right. Right.
Yeah, what are you going to say?
Right, right, right.
You want the gig?
Yeah, hello.
Hey, if 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 you substitute Miles for Stevie, because I
Mm,
will tell you this
mm,
thing with Stevie,
mm,
it was like sometimes
mm,
a couple of times he come up and tell me, it's like no, it's got to be like this,
mm.
and then Stevie would sometimes like turn around and say, Gerry, you know what job security is about?
I got a Stevie story for you.
Oh, good.
I'm sure you knew Dennis Davis.
Yes, I did. Yeah, I took Dennis's place.
Dig that. Check this out. Check this out. So Dennis's uncle, one of his uncles was a good friend of my father. So he was always telling Dennis about Roy Haynes as Dennis as a kid.
Yeah.
So my father was playing in Harlem. I think it was the Baby Grand, the club Baby Grand. And Dennis was like, I don't know, 16 or 17 maybe.
Mhm.
He might have been 15 or 16 and was going to see my father. So he's going to the club and he gets to the club and he says, I came here to see Roy Haynes. That's not Roy Haynes on the drums. And his uncle says, no, that's not Roy. That's Stevie Wonder. Stevie went to see my father, and my father let Stevie sit in on the drums. And that's how Dennis met Stevie. Years later, he
Wow.
got the gig.
Wow.
He kept in touch, and he got the gig. And then there was
Wow.
another drummer from Harlem. I knew Dennis's mother. Dennis's mother used to babysit the Wayans brothers and Whoopi Goldberg.
Wow.
But there was another drummer, Greg Brown, that recorded. Did you know Greg?
Yes, I did.
You knew Greg? Yeah, because
Yeah.
he's on As
Yes.
and
Yep.
Sunshine of My Life,
Yes. Yes.
and never got any credit.
I I I
You know?
heard I found that out, it's like, yeah, I asked Nate Watts about that.
Mm.
Oh man. Oh man.
Wow. I heard a story. You probably heard the story where there was a drummer that was working with Stevie, and I guess they were rehearsing or something, and the drummer was like, I want to beat Stevie up or something. And then Stevie
Whipped
they
his
said,
ass.
whipped his ass.
Yeah.
Was it Greg?
I think it was Greg.
Because
He
I
got his
just thought
ass whooped
about that.
out, you
I
know.
just I
And
just
and
thought of
and and sometimes what Stevie would say this, and I'd laugh, but he said, "You ever been blindsided by a blind man?"
oh. Hmm. It just dawned on me that you would probably know. And also when I was talking about Greg, I said, wait a minute, who was that drummer? And I thought it might have been Greg. Rest in peace, Greg, whoever he is.
Rest in peace. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Did you hang out uh, with T.S. Monk at all and stuff like that?
Early on, I just not much, not much.
Uh,
I've been to his house as a kid. I mean, I was probably 16, 17.
right.
And I went to the house a couple of times. We never really hung out, man. Now that I think about it, we never really hung out.
Mm.
And we know each other. Maybe we talk on the phone every now and then, but
Uh,
never never really hung out. I actually had a crush on his sister, but I never pursued it. You know, just I was kid, I was young, so. But yeah, I thought last time I see came, he came at the last minute to the memorial I did for my father last year.
Right. Yeah.
Actually, I want to say it wasn't no was it November 18th? I think it was
I
exactly a year
think.
ago. I think
Yeah.
it was exactly a year
A
ago.
year
And
ago.
ironically, today they're doing a tribute to Sheila Jordan at the same place, St. Peter's,
Wow.
who was my mother's best friend when I was born.
Wow.
Yeah, it's weird, ironic.
Incredible.
Yeah,
Incredible.
she was
Interesting.
she's something else. She sang up until she was 94, touring the world. I
You
call
know,
her up.
but but that's it. That says, I mean, you say that and it's like, like Diane is 81.
Yeah, right, right,
And she has been saying in the past year and a half, she's, this is the diva. And then she says, I don't need the money. But
right.
but 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 this is for my mentally, spiritually, emotionally,
hmm
and
hmm
physically. It's like,
Right,
and I, she's got, her kids and stuff, and kids got grandkids and they got
right,
lives.
right, right. Yeah, but she don't need the money. I was thinking the
Yeah.
same thing. I was thinking a similar thing just earlier today about my father and how in the last days, in his last few gigs, because he got dementia towards the end, the last 10 years of his life,
Mhm.
the dementia consumed him. But even midway into the dementia and well before, he would have a gig coming up, and I would tell him a week in advance and then a few days in advance, and say, okay, you got a gig, and he would always say at the last, say, I got a gig. I don't want to do the gig. I don't feel like playing. Because I gotta wait till I tell you the rest though. But right up until the time until the time to leave the house to walk out the door, he would like be reluctant. He would then he would start getting ready, he would get dressed. But when you start getting to the gig, then he totally changed. But what was it? I just thought about. I need to tell you. Oh, so he and my mother separated. I was 17 when he had to leave. They separated.
Right.
But growing up, he rehearsed in the house a few times, maybe a handful of times.
Hmm.
But I can count the times on one hand that I've seen him practice a drum set. I could count the times on one hand. That's how often he actually practiced. One time, uh, not that long ago, before the dementia was really full blown. I was at his house and I said, Dad, I gotta go home. I got a gig. I want to go practice some stuff. And he said, Practice? Practice? What you gonna practice? Whatever you practice, you're not gonna play on the gig. What you gonna practice for?
Boy, Allen Iverson should have heard that. Practice. What are you talking about? Practice.
Oh man,
Wow.
because he just had it inherently. He was a natural born drummer. It
I get
was
it.
it was
I get it.
totally organic for him.
I get it. And that's why, it was so organic, testament that people are still trying to play like your dad.
Yeah, yeah.
People somewhere, somebody, there's a
Right now,
bunch of people on the planet, right? Exactly. There are a bunch of people right now who, I don't know if it's like this or if it's like,
or they're reading a transcript or
or to read
something,
the transcript,
or they're
something,
transcripting. You know.
or the transcript. Yes,
Yeah, yeah. It's crazy.
crazy. But that's like I said, make on one hand,
On one hand,
on
that's
one
the how many
hand.
times I've seen him practice. And it's became a bad habit of mine. Only recently, when I first started playing, I practiced a lot. And then between then and now, I barely practice myself because
But it's inherent.
it's inherent. Yeah, but you hear these kids, you hear these Chopzilla kids and guys and girls. So you got to
Yes, guys and
practice.
girls, yes.
Got to, you got to keep up with the times.
You got to keep up. But it's nice. It is nice to see some younger people who are not beholden to all the chops and stuff like
Mhm,
that. And
mhm. Yeah, yeah,
it's about taste.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. I saw
and
one
it,
last night. A kid came into the gig I did last night, and the band leader introduced him, and I let him play. I gave him my sticks, and one of the guys who was a friend of his, a great tenor player, who was only 18 years old, great, sounded great. He said, "Oh, this kid is killing. This kid is killing." I was like, "Uh oh, here come one of them Chopzilla guys," and he got up there and played so tastefully. 16 years old, played so tastefully, like he knew what he was doing.
when I hear young people like that, I start to wonder. It's like, boy, I wish I could hear them some more because I'm
Mhm.
thinking that there's an ancestor that's in them.
Yeah,
Some, you know what I'm saying?
absolutely. The tenor player that I just took to Africa with me. He's from Denver, Colorado. He's part half Mexican. He's mixed. And when I first heard him, I was like, and he's 26. I think he's 27 years old now. He can sound just like Dexter Gordon. He can sound like Ben Webster. I
Ooh,
mean, just like these people.
ooh.
Like, it's like, what damn, you know.
I
And he
mean,
sing,
Dexter
and he
and
can and he can sing. He can sing like Billy Eckstine. He sings like he's an old soul. It's
there you go.
amazing. It's an old soul.
I mean, Dexter, Ben Webster, and Billy Eckstine. And he's 26,
And he's
27.
27 years old. Come on. How do you do that? It's like you can't figure out how can you get that feeling into your soul. That's at that age. That's a feat. That's like supernatural almost. That's.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
I'd like to hear this person, man.
yeah. Rico Jones.
Rico Jones. Okay.
Yeah,
Rico Jones. I'll remember that name. Rico
yeah.
Jones.
And he's got a nice attitude. Good kid, which makes
Yeah.
all the difference for me. That I mean, if I remember, my father said something years ago. The first cruise ship I did, uh, trumpet player was, and I guess he thought he was Clark Terry. It was supposed to be an orchestra. It was a small band, but the guy was really ridiculous. His girlfriend even said what she say? She says he's inherently evil. And that's not good to hear about anybody, let alone a musician. So he wound up firing me. And I came home. I had to rent a car in Florida somewhere and drive back to New York. And had to go borrow some money from my father. And my father lost it. When I told him what happened, my father lost it. And he started slamming his fist on the desk. He said, "Damn it, I told you about playing with inferior musicians." And I said, "Well, Dad, he's really a good musician. He's not a good person." And my father said, "That's the same thing. If you're not a good person, you're an inferior musician." you know?
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So, I mean, but because there are a lot of people out here that are great musicians that aren't really the best people humanly.
Yes, they are.
But I don't know. Because I still think about what my father said. That means they're not a good musician, not a great musician. So there's a lot to that. You have to really kind of decipher it, I guess, to figure it out. But
Well, anyway, listen, man. I appreciate you. Much love.
likewise, likewise, likewise.
Man, it's so good to talk with you, and we got to break some bread
Yes,
at
sir.
some point, man. Hey, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this episode with Craig Holiday Haynes. We will have him back. And maybe we'll do a forum with some other sons of icons, groove icons. Share this with your friends. Meanwhile, until the next time, you know what you got to do. Keep that groove alive, because groove don't lie.